Hello and welcome back to another Unity 5 tutorial. In the last session we polished up our UMA initializer, so now when we initialize a new test UMA we get our NPC object holding the UMA and the waypoints, so now our UMA is able to walk and talk as we hit the buttons. What we're going to do now in the following sessions will be enhancing our walking system, our waypoint system. So if you thought the waypoint system was already pretty cool the way it was, just take a look at that. Now you can see we have one waypoint looking a bit different than all the others. This is our active waypoint. And now as I hit play, we get our UMA right at that waypoint. Let's just have a look behind the scenes. If we look at our waypoint number 3, there is a bool here called isStop, and this is set to true. On all other ones it's set to false. And what that means is that number 3 will be the stop, where our character is going to stop walking there. He will just stop here waiting for a new call to walk. Let's have a look how it works. So I press walk now, and there he goes, standing here waiting for something to happen. As I hit walk again, just walks right to the end. And there he stops again. And now, as we look at our log, here we get 2 log messages. One when he reached the first stop, and one when he reached the final destination of his waypoint route. So that's pretty cool already, but there's even more. Let me just stop it for a second and enable a day-night cycle. I've used that in my my first tutorials when we set up our game scene. This is just a daytime cycle with night, with the sun and the moon jumping around and stars and night and day stuff. So pretty cool. It's a free plugin. You can free asset. You can get it in the asset store. And the nice thing about it is, if we look at that, we have a time given. So there's actually a script telling us what time of day it is, and we can use this. You already see what our dude is doing, so I just want to show you why he's doing that. I've added to our NPC follow path script a section where we can set up a time. I set it at 7:30, and as the time event is checked, which it is right now, we just need to wait for 7:30. And as soon as it's 7:30, we get a time event at 7:31 AM, and our UMA just walks off. And then he waits again at the next stop. So that is pretty cool. The last thing I've added to this section is, let's see. Here we still have a bool called endless. That's maybe not the best naming here, but anyways, it works. It just means that we won't stop at the end of our path. There's basically now no final destination anymore. So I just walk here, wait for 7:30. It's 7:30, so he walks further, and he will not stop here, but just will keep on going to the next stop, which is number 3. And with that we can actually set up a walking routine that will just repeat itself all the time. You could use that for NPCs patrolling, or just really set up entire long daily routine with several stops and always waiting for a daytime event to move on, something like that. So this is what we're gonna do. I hope you're excited. And let's switch back to where we left off in the last session. So here we are where we finished off last time. And the first thing we want to look at is on setting up our waypoints tool in a way to show us when there is an active waypoint and where to find it. And we also want to change that value, of course. Now, of course, we could have taken all of that in our movement, or rather than in our NPC follow path script. That would have been an option, but I actually want to try to keep our waypoints tool separate, keep it self-contained, so we can also use it with other systems, not just the UMA system, so we can also use it for really anything else. So this is why we're going to write the code the way we're going to write it. I hope it all somehow will make sense at the end. So yeah, we need to open up the waypoint script. Since we're now working on our tool set, I will post a reference to the tools playlist. So this is our waypoint script. And the first thing I want to do is just declare a bunch of variables we're gonna use in this session. So I want to give it a header just to show that this is something I want to keep separate from everything else. And we call this an active waypoint provider, because everything related to that will provide to any other system the active waypoints and give control over them or access to them. So the first thing, since I want to set it up as an optional feature to the waypoints, we first need a bool stating if we want to use it or not. So if this bool is set to false, I don't want to use active waypoints. They will just display the way they do now. So let's just set this actually on draw always. So now we always see our waypoints. Add maybe a couple more. Okay, so this is how we see it right now. And I want to keep that an option, that we don't have any active waypoint, but that we actually just use it the way it is. So the next variable is another bool, and this is the one I've showed you before. It's called endless. That's a pretty non-descriptive way. Okay, I'm just gonna call this loop. That sounds better to me now. It's probably also not the best name chosen ever, but who cares? So the next thing we need is two colors. The first one, active marker. Oh, what am I doing? Marker color. It's color.red. Copy and paste. The second one would be the active label color. Let's use color.purple just to see. Oh, there's no purple. Are you kidding me? Okay, what do we get? White, yellow. I'm so indecisive. Let's take. Do I have cyan anywhere already? I think so. Gray? Why are there two grays? Anyways. Yeah, that should work. And the last variable we need is a private int active waypoint index. So the reason for that being private is what I just explained, that I want to keep the waypoints tool self-contained. I don't want this to be public so you can mess around it from all sides. That will also mean that we need a bunch of functions to give us access to the value, or give us access to change, to ways to change the value. So first things first, we first need to look on how this is drawn and displayed. And for that, we're gonna look in this section. So in our draw custom gizmo function, we have the first one where we draw the connectors. Don't need to bother about that one. If we draw a circle, we need one for the last connector. And then there's the section where we draw our markers and our marker text. And there are two lines that are important for us. That's the one where we set the marker color for our gizmo and where we set the text color for our label. Now, when do we want to draw a different color here? Basically, we want to check for our provider, for our Waypoint provider to be enabled or not. So once it's enabled, and you need to look up here, we're right now in a loop, looping through all the waypoints. So we need to check our iteration variable j, if this is equal to our waypoint in our active waypoint index, then we want to change the color. And I've decided to do it in the following way. Just gonna type it out and then explain it quickly. So provide active waypoint and j equals active waypoint index. Active marker color. So this should be it. So what's happening here? Basically, this syntax is a short form for an if-else statement. We have if this is true, or in this case not true. But yeah, let's just keep it simple. So if this is true, one statement in front of our question symbol, then if this is true, this will happen. If it's false, this will happen. Kind of. So, and since this line is read by the compiler from left to right, that means if this one is true, this one will not be evaluated at all because it doesn't matter anymore. And that's why I wrote things in this order. So I'm saying if we don't have our provider activated and we have it activated but we don't have the right index, then just don't do anything. Well, sorry, that's wrong. Then just take the normal color. If, however, and this is the rare case here, so most cases will cover that, but if, however, we have it activated and we have the right index, then this statement in itself is false since we have the exclamation mark in the front. So this means we will jump into the latter case. So that's always something you want to think through. I mean, I know my code is not really efficient in ways of saving memory and all this stuff, but I try to bit by bit learn these things, and this is just something where you can save a bit of looking into variables. Like this one will not be evaluated, and most of the times only the one case where it is actually necessary to look in there, we will do so. And this is, I think, good thinking for when you want to program something. Good way of thinking. Well, of course, I hope I am not telling total nonsense here, and this is actually the way it works. I just copied that from a different programming language, so I hope in C# this is also the way it's read. Yeah, so now we're looking at the text color. So we need here our label color and our active label color. The rest will stay the same because we still want to check for the very same conditions. So as we save the script, we look in Unity and not much has changed because we still have not set our bool to true. So as I do that, we will see, oh, that color is really not nice, gray. Let's just change that. Go with purple after all. Excuse me. So now we have this one set properly. Now let's head down to the bottom of our script and add a region here called, how do you call it? Oh, okay, Waypoint Provider. Let's say active Waypoint Provider. So we also need to end a region if we open one. And here will be now all the functions that give us access to the entire active Waypoint thingy. So we need a few functions. We just go by them through them step by step. We actually don't necessarily need all of them, but I just thought I want to set that up in a generic way so this can be used in different use cases. So the first thing is we want to set our active waypoint. So we're not setting the waypoint index, but actually the active waypoint. We do this in, well, we actually don't do this. We first write the next function called set active waypoint index, which is an int, takes an int, sorry. And here, the one thing we definitely need to do is assign the value to our index variable. And here, to cut this one short, we're just gonna call this function and just use the index of function of a list. That's a class function or class method. And so this is the game object that has been passed through. We get the index and pass the index into this function, and here we assign it. Sweet. Now, right now we cannot really see much, so let's just add two things. First, we need another public void above this one. I call this next active waypoint. And in this one, we are gonna set the active waypoint index. And I'm gonna do it similar with this shortcut for if else statement. So here we want to get the right value. And our condition is basically, let's think about it. We always want to jump to the next one. So the only case that does not work that easily is once we hit the last one and we want to jump further. What's happening here? This is what we need our statement for. So this will be the active waypoint index plus 1. If this one is smaller than waypoints.count, then we let's see. Somewhere I'm missing something. Oh yeah, right. So if you write it like that, you need to have your condition in brackets, I think. And this is the statement for true. This is the statement for false. So we're checking here if our active waypoint index plus 1 is smaller than the count of waypoints. If this is false, then this is the rare case where we actually jump from 4 to whatever. So in most cases, this will be true, and that's why we jump in our first, in our true block here. So now we of course need to think what we do in this case, but let's first save it and have a look. We still cannot test it. We just need to add a button to our editor, so let's do that. Where do we have it? Waypoint Editor, open it up, double click in Mono Develop. I just copy the last button, and instead of reset waypoints, I call this next active waypoint. Yep. And we call next active waypoint. That needs to be a capital M. So I save it and change. Sorry, that is the difficulty if you jump from one to another programming language. I've done lately a lot in JavaScript where I wouldn't capitalize my function names. So this is saved. Now let's have a look if it works. There's a button. And now I hit next. Nothing happens. Takes a while, then it jumps. Again, I hit next. Nothing happens. If I scroll, it jumps around. So why is that? Because the drawing the right colors on our gizmo is all set in our onGUI function, and we can only see the changes if our onGUI function is called. So in order to have this right away as the value is applied, we want to redraw. We need to add one line. It's called editor utility set dirty, and we pass in this, which would be our script. So we just tell Unity that our script needs got some changes that need to be evaluated, and so right away when we call this this function in the editor utility, it will call on GUI as well and redraw everything. So now if I hit next active waypoint, right away it jumps over. And now if I hit it once more, this is our rare case in our if else statement, we jump over here. Now while this is pretty cool because now we can just loop through here all the time, this is only what we want to happen if we have everything, if we have it set up to loop. So let's change that in our function. If loop. And else, if not, then we can take this entire line, copy and paste it, and we only need to change this last value. Here we take our active waypoint index. So what does it do? If the rare case happens that we reached our last waypoint and we want to go further, then we would jump in here and would assign this value, would pass in this value of our active waypoint index into our function, and in this function we would assign our active waypoint index to the variable active waypoint index, so we wouldn't do a thing. It wouldn't change anything. We would stay where we're at. And that's exactly what we want. So let's check this out. We have loop unchecked. And I keep on hitting the button. Nothing happens. We've reached the last waypoint. Cool. So now in the remainder of this session, I still want to set up a few more functions that we are going to use in the next session. So what we need is, of course, as we have functions to set the active waypoint, we need functions to get it. Get active. It's not, oh, sorry. Waypoint. Of course, this is not a bool, but let's anyways still copy everything. It's not a void function, sorry, what I was saying. So it is, this case will give us back a game object, and this one, let's add IDX. This will return an int. So I hope you can see that this one got its counterpart in this function, and this one got its counterpart in this one. We don't need all of them, but I think it's good to have them anyways. So the easiest case would be get active waypoint index. Here we just return our variable. Since it's private, we need the function. So this would be it. And now in this one, right now we're just taking a shortcut here, or an easy way out. We just say return the waypoint in our list at index, active waypoint index. This works for now, because right now we always have our waypoints in order, and right now we always the indices don't change of our waypoints, so we can just use our array, our list, and just get any waypoint by its index. If we would, however, decide, okay, I don't want to just have one path or one route of waypoints, but I want to have a net, like from point 3 I want to add another one over here, from point 2 over here, then that wouldn't work obviously anymore. So this will probably come later on in the waypoints tutorials, but right now we're just gonna do it the easy way. So what else do we need? Now we need another function to reset our waypoints. So let's call this reset waypoints to start. That is just too long. Reset active waypoints point. So active waypoint index is 0. And now there are two more functions that we need later on. One is to check if the waypoint we're looking at is set to be a stop. Remember I showed how the UMA walked to number 3 and stopped there, so we would need this function for that. Not a step, a stop. So how do we do this, or when do we not need to test this? Basically, in most cases, if we have our loop variable, if this one is not is set to true, then there will never be. Actually, just let me think. Oh no, that doesn't make sense. Sorry, I'm in the wrong I'm in the wrong function. So, anyways, sorry about that. Let me just type it out first, the first line, and then it'll all make sense again for me. So what do we check here? If loop is not set, I want the last waypoint, the very last waypoint, to return true. The reason for that is if we start at 1 and we arrive here and we don't go back to 1, then this would be a stop. It would be our destination as well. But this is the two cases we will look at in our npc follow paths function in the next session. But I just want the last one to have both, both values set. So this is what these 3 lines are for. This is just checking the last waypoint. Okay, and here we need to cover everything else. So oh. Get component, waypoint child script. Now I showed you in the script I added this public variable is stop. What am I doing? So is stop. Yeah. So we still need to add that. That's why MonoDevelop doesn't know it. But basically what this is saying, if it's the last one in of our waypoints and we are not looping, then the last one is a stop. If not, just check the component waypoint script if there's a value for is stop. So let's just fix this error quickly. So open up the waypoint child script in MonoDevelop. I got it open somewhere. Nowhere. Hello there. That's odd. Just doesn't open it. Okay, then I just close MonoDevelop and open it anew. What am I doing? Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong script the whole time. I'm sorry about that. Wow. Okay, all we need here is a public bool is stop set to false. Okay, and now if you look at each of the waypoints, oh, Unity still didn't figure that one out. Need to open our region. Is stop. Because I did the same mistake here. Okay, now everything is good. And now if you look at any of the waypoints, you'll see the spool up here. Let's just check one. It doesn't matter right now, but just to show that we can set a bool. Wow, that was special. Yeah, so this is what this function will check. And another function will still check if we reached our destination. So is active waypoint destination, and this one we need to check again the condition. Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna copy and paste that. And now, what do we need to do in this oh man, in this state, we just need to return true. So if we are not looping and we've reached our last waypoint, yes, we reached our destination. In all other cases, we need to return false. So only if loop is unchecked and we're at the last index, only then this will be true. So I think that's it. Yeah, that should be all the functions we will need. And yeah, sorry, it was a bit all over the place. I was a bit all over the place now. I hope you could follow along, and in the next session we will look at how to implement those functions, how to use them. Till then, see you. Bye.